Okay, well, good morning, everyone. Members of the public, good morning, board members. And my name is Max Disposti. I'm the chair of the Board of Behavioral Science, pronounced AMS. We're opening the work today, our public sessions for this meeting. Today is September 10th, 2021, and the time is 9:01 a.m. This meeting is occurring at various locations pursuant to Executive Order N-08-21, dated on June 11, 2021. This public meeting will be held via a WebEx platform, which is the one that you're experiencing right now. And good morning to you, moderator. Could you please explain how we will be conducting the comments portion of the meeting today? Thank you.
I will do. Thank you. This is the moderator. Welcome to today's meeting. Before we get started, I would like to remind board members and staff who are not speaking to mute their microphones. If I detect background noise during the meeting as a result of unmuted microphones, I will either provide a brief friendly reminder or simply mute your microphone. Since there are members of the public in the audience and meeting minutes are being taken, I also remind staff to please identify yourselves before speaking. To facilitate public comment today, we will be utilizing the question and answer feature in WebEx. When the board president reaches a point in the agenda at which public comment is appropriate, public comment will be requested, and at his direction, I will turn on and announce the opening of the Q&A feature. To make a request for public comment, you'll be looking for a Q&A icon on your screen, which will look like a question mark inside of a square. Click on that. It will open a text box in which you can type comment and submit that to our panelists. You can also utilize our hand raise feature, and you can find that access by hovering over your name. When you do so, a small hand icon will appear next to your name. You can click on that icon to raise your hand and then click on it again to lower your hand. We will be taking comments in the order that they are received today. When I do call on you to unmute your microphone, I will be letting you know that I have sent you a request to unmute your microphone. You should receive a pop-up window on your end when I do so, with a blue button that says unmute me. If you click that blue button, that will then unmute your microphone. You'll hear a brief statement that WebEx will automatically play. Wait till that statement is finished, then you can begin speaking. Our public comments today for our open comment session will be limited to 2 minutes, and I will be providing a 15-second warning before your time expires. When your time expires, I will mute your microphone and move on to the next commenter. And with that, I will turn the floor back over to the president.
Thank you so much, moderator. Thank you so much. I think now it's time for us to call for a quorum. Christina Kitamura and my fellow board members, as you show your presence, please share if you're a public member or a licensee. Thank you.
Good morning. Max Disposti?
Here, public member.
Christina Wong?
Here, LCSW member.
Deborah Brown?
Public member? Here.
Ross Ehrlich?
Public member here. I might have to restart just because my video is not coming up.
Okay, we got you here. No problem, Ross. Susan Friedman?
Here, public member. I may have to restart too because I have no video.
We actually see you.
Hurwitz?
Here, LPC member.
Kelly Ranasinghe?
Here, public member.
Kelly Stratt? Sorry, Wendy Stratt. I need my coffee.
Here, public member.
I apologize, Wendy. Yvette Casares Willis.
Here, public member.
And for the record, I have Crystal Anthony, Christopher Jones, Jonathan Maddox, John Sovic are absent. We have a quorum.
Wonderful. Thank you so much, Christina. As always, I think we are now ready to move to our consent calendar. I believe there was an item that perhaps was pulled out of the agenda. Am I correct? Staff, if you can please confirm that. And it was item number B. Am I correct?
That is correct. The July 7th board meeting minutes.
So if I'm correct, the proper procedures will be voting for the consent calendar by pulling out the item B on the consent calendar.
You can do that, or the 3 minutes that remain, you can fold it all into one motion if that's what you would like to do.
Yeah, no, I would like to pull them out on one motion with exclusion of the item number B. That's what I meant, right?
Okay.
So I would like to ask to my fellow board members if there is a motion to approve item A, C, D of the consent calendar, so we can put it as a one item and with exclusions of item B for the July 7th board meeting minutes.
So moved. I'll
Wonderful.
second.
Wonderful. So we have Brown and Wong approving, and so Kitamura, if we can call for the vote, thank you.
Do you want to take public comment on these?
That would be nice. I think my coffee hasn't kicked in. Yes, thank you so much for the reminder. And our facilitator, I mean, if we can open to the public, I would really appreciate that. Thank you.
This is the moderator. We've opened the Q&A panel. If you'd like to make a public comment, please click on that Q&A icon on your screen, type comment into the text field, and submit that to our panelists, or you may also utilize the hand raise feature. And seeing no requests, would you like me to close the panel?
Yes, thank you so much. Thanks a lot.
It is closed.
Okay, we're back to the board. If there are any other questions or suggestions, we can go to the vote. None of those. Okay, here we are. Thank you, Christina.
Okay. Max DeSosti,
Yes.
Christina Wong,
Yes.
Deborah Brown,
Yes.
Ross Ehrlich,
Yes.
Susan Friedman,
Yes.
Diana Hurwitz,
Yes.
Kelly Ranasinghe,
Yes.
Wendy Strack,
Yes.
Yvette Casares Willis.
Yes.
Motion carries.
Wonderful. Thank you so much. Now we're moving on item number 9 in the agenda, which has to do with my board report. A couple of items that I would like to share with the board and the public, of course, is that our public member, Yvette Caesar Willis, has been confirmed as a public member. And also we had Kelly Ranasinghe also as a public member that's been confirmed by the Senate in August 26th of this year. So that means their current term will last until June 1st, 2025. Congratulations. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you for going through all of the process. I know it's very time consuming and, very, very intense. So we're really happy to have you here formally, officially. So I don't have any other additional things to report as a board chair. So I would like to move to the item number 10. I know we have the Department of Consumer Affairs DCA updates, and I believe Brianna Miller will do the report. Am I correct, Brianna? Are you here with us? I don't see you. I don't know if we need to promote her as a...
She's been promoted.
Thank you. Thank you so much, moderator.
Brianna, you are muted.
Thank you, Shelley.
Thank
This
you
is
for
my
being
first time with video on. I was so concerned getting the video that I forgot to unmute myself. So thank you. Well, good morning, board chair and board members. I'm Brianna Miller with Board and Bureau Relations at the Department of Consumer Affairs, and thank you for allowing me the opportunity to provide the department update with you this morning. I too would like to congratulate members Casares Willis and Ranasinghe on your Senate confirmation. Congratulations to you both. And I'd like to start out by discussing remote meetings as part of my DCA update. DCA is receiving many questions about when and how boards will meet again in person and whether they can also continue to meet remotely. As the law and executive orders stand today, after September 30th, all boards and committees will be required to return to in-person meetings with publicly noticed meeting locations. However, due to ongoing changes in the COVID-19 pandemic, there is legislation pending that would extend the ability to meet remotely until at least January 31st, 2022. We don't have any concrete news today to share, so DCA will do all it can to assist boards and bureaus to plan safely for in-person meetings, and then we will keep you informed of any changes to meeting requirements as soon as we're aware of them. Moving on to COVID-19 safety measures. To combat the spread of COVID-19 and protect vulnerable communities, California is implementing enhanced safety measures for state employees and workers in healthcare settings. State employees must show proof of vaccination or they will be subject to regular COVID-19 testing and will be required to wear appropriate PPE. Board members and committee members are considered employees and must follow these health and safety protocols if they plan to be physically present in a DCA location, whether it be for a board meeting, either at a DCA location or an offsite meeting location, or just a quick visit. Members must verify vaccination or follow face covering and testing protocols in accordance with that location's requirements. Statewide guidance for the use of face coverings from the California Department of Public Health remains in place unless a local health jurisdiction issues a stricter public health ordinance tailored for the situation in their communities. Many counties have revised health orders requiring face masks to be worn by both vaccinated and unvaccinated individuals while indoors. And as it pertains to healthcare settings, to further protect Californians and healthcare workers, the California Department of Public Health recently issued 2 public health orders. The first order requires workers in healthcare settings to be fully vaccinated or receive their second dose by September 30th. The second public health order directs hospitals, skilled nursing facilities, and intermediate care facilities to verify that visitors are fully vaccinated or have tested negative for COVID-19 in the prior 72 hours before indoor visits. Licensees are encouraged to thoroughly read the CDPH public health orders and regularly check their local public health department's website for additional vaccination requirements. And questions from licensees about the healthcare worker requirements can be directed to the California Department of Public Health. And we know things are moving quickly and there's a lot of information, both official and unofficial. So I encourage all members and the public to visit DCA's COVID-19 webpage for updates and resources on the state's reopening plan, public health guidance, vaccinator resources, vaccine distribution, waivers, and more. And lastly, I'd like to provide a reminder about required board member trainings and the learning management system. As a reminder, 2021 is a mandatory sexual harassment prevention training year. So this means that all employees and board members are required to complete the training during this year. Please also be advised that you will now access this training through the Learning Management System, or LMS for short, which is DCA's training portal. We have created profiles for each of you in the LMS and informed your executive officer of the steps you will need to take to log in and access the training. Board and Bureau Relations is also happy to assist you with any questions or concerns you may have about using the LMS. And ultimately, the LMS will house your training records and also be used to sign up for other mandatory trainings. To that end, I'm happy to report that you can now register for the board member orientation training through LMS. And as a reminder, newly appointed and reappointed board members are required to attend the board member orientation training within a year of appointment or reappointment. And our final offering of 2021 will be on October 13th, and that training will be held via WebEx. So as always, Board and Bureau Relations is here to help you. And if there's anything we can do to assist you and your board, please don't hesitate to reach out. And that concludes my presentation. So I'll hand it back to Board Chair Desposti. Thank you.
Wonderful. Thank you so much. Thank you so much for all the information. Very vital and very important for our well-being as well of the people that they are working with us. So thank you so much again. And that will conclude. Thank you. And that will conclude our item 10, which was the report from the DCA, Department of Consumer Affairs. And we're moving now to item 11, which is our executive officer report. At this point, our executive officer will introduce his report through the budget and all the items at work with the BBS, and we'll have the opportunity to ask questions and considerations and so forth. Thank you so much, Steve, and good morning.
Yes, good morning, everyone. Thank you, Brianna. I appreciate the update. Thanks again. So here we go. You ready to listen? We got a lot of information, hopefully, to present. First of all, we're going to talk about budget. The budget report, I have to say that there's a little correction in there. It kind of shocked me what I read when what I put out in the budget report. So the budget report, what we're looking at is for fiscal year 2021. What we had listed for the 2022 budget was $12,096,000. That's actually last year's budget. The 21-22 figure you see within the budget, the $12,959,000 is actually the 2022 budget. So really what we are reporting on now is the last quarter, the fourth quarter of fiscal year 2021, because we don't have current figures in for the final budget report for that year. So what we're really looking at is last year's budget. That being said, we've currently expended $10.2 million of our budget from last year, which is 84% of our budget. So we're doing pretty good. And currently we have a 6.8 month of reserves. So that is also good. Just as a side note on that, we will be keeping a close watch on that, because at a certain point, if the reserve gets too high, we might have to talk about certain measures that we have to take, because there's a certain threshold. So, but it is good to have 6.8 months in reserve. With this report, I've also included the yearly department pro rata costs, and those pro rata costs are the department charges to recover its costs for centralized administrative services provided to the boards and bureaus. These include these include the legal help that we get, the help from human resources, information technology, communication, professional examination, and training and strategic planning. As you know, we currently work with Office of Professional Examination Services. We are working with the Organizational Improvement Office, and we currently have the CIC working with our phones. So we do utilize these services thoroughly, and they provide good services, so we're happy with that. So this kind of, you can see how much we expend in pro rata costs. That's 22% of our budget annually. And these costs are distributed two different ways. One is based upon workload, and some of them are based upon how many staff we have. Approximately 1/3 is distributed based on like the authorized position that the board or bureau has. So that is the budget report. Is there any questions on that?
Not that I know of. Steve, a question to you to make sure that we don't interrupt the flow of your reporting. Would you like me to, at the end of any item, like A, B, C, D, to go and then also ask questions to the public? Would that be okay with you?
You mean after just go through the report and then ask questions?
No. Through the, I mean, each item that you are, where we're taking information from, so that we can, as we've done when we are in person, right? There's much fluid conversation in case so that people don't have to note all the many questions on different items. At the end of each section of the report, we can do that, right? As we've done before.
That's fine. Let's do that. So,
okay.
Yeah, and budget.
So if there are any questions from the board member around the budget, or any ask for considerations, clarifications, or anything? Okay, moderator, if we can open to the public in case there are any questions.
Question.
Okay, Christina Wong, thank you. Sorry, I didn't see you.
Oh, no problem at all. So, so Steve, question about, I'm really glad that, that we, because of the fee increase, for the licensees, and we're able to have a pretty healthy budget now. So any plan, that we can actually, get the, our expenses to closer to 100%, because I think that is an important thing, for the future planning, that, how we can, we raise the fee, and yet, what are the places that we really need to, spend those money.
No, we're good. We're good at spending, but the problem we had with, not the problem, but where you see there's 84% from last year, we've been dealing with a lot of vacancies. especially some big vacancies as managers and the AEO position. So we're at a process right now where I'm hopefully being fully staffed by the end of the year. And the budget this year will be different. We will be, reaching that expenditure. That being said, we all are also relying on some of the department services. Like I said, last year we began utilizing the communication in CIC. Basically, they are answering our phones for us and doing a great job at that. And then we also are working with the Organizational Improvement Office. That will probably, increase our spending a little bit too. So with the vacancies fulfilled and, utilizing more department services, we'll definitely reach that, that spending, I think, where you're looking at. My concern, I'm going to be looking at both though, is yes, let's making sure we're utilizing that appropriately, but at the same time, like I stated before, really looking at if we are starting to get to a point where our reserves are really high, we maybe need to look at that then. And can't really, honestly, I need to learn about that process right now, but it's something that we may have to venture into. So.
Thank you. I hope we don't get to, too much because, I know things are getting more and more expensive. But, it's nice to know that, that you're, once it's full staffed, then most likely, the money can be expended. So thank you so much.
Sure.
Thank you, Steve. And for board members, excuse me, if there are any other questions, we can also come back to you after we hear from the public. So it's never the last chance, so don't worry. Moderator, if we can open to the public and see if there are any questions or concerns, and thank you.
This is the moderator. We've opened the Q&A panel. If you'd like to make a comment, click on the Q&A icon on your screen, type comment into the text field, and submit that to our panelists. Or you may also raise your hand by hovering over your name and clicking on the hand icon that appears next to it. And not seeing any requests for comment, would you like me to close the panel?
Yes, thank you, moderator. Thank you.
It is closed.
Okay. We're back to the board. And Steve, if you would like to proceed, that would be great. Thank you.
Great, thank you. So this is the licensing report. As of August, the board has 125,928 licensees, and our population continues to grow. There is an overall 81% increase in applications received the fourth quarter of the last fiscal year. And this is really a normal kind of uptick due to the graduation season. Most of those application increases were in the registration and associate applications. Because of that increase, our processing times have gained, basically they increased a little bit, but not necessarily too concerning. I mean, we're always looking for room for improvement. For maybe next year we can lower the processing times. Yeah, it's just kind of with the nature of the current, the timing. So I think most importantly, through this licensing report, I've got all the stats there, but I really want to address the big issue that's out there. We currently have a backlog in the applications for LNFT, and these are the applications that, when submitted, we are approving applicants for the clinical exam. So this is the last step to licensure, getting people into the clinical exam. We have a backlog, and we do recognize, I want to make sure that the public knows that we do recognize the burden this places on, the applicants and the licensees, the registrants, and we do, we're trying our hardest to get through this, and we definitely take this seriously. So as a kind of currently right now, we are processing applications that we received on the first week in March. And so that's around 6 to 7th month backlog. Why this happened, or how did we get here? Well, the board received 1,100 applications in December of 2020. Historically, we receive around 250 applications in a month. So as you can see, that was a really big increase. We're thinking, well, pretty much guarantee that the increase was due to people wanting to take advantage of being able to apply under what we call the option 2 category. That's where they could submit their hours, the experienced hours, a little bit differently than the law that was going into effect January 1st. 2021, which is option 1. So we had a bunch of people wanting to apply under that option 2 category, which they did. Additionally, I think we might have seen an uptick due to people wanting to not have to pay the higher fee. The fee increase was January 1st also. So I think those are the 2 reasons why we received a tremendous amount of applications. Hindsight, I honestly did not think we would receive that many applications for option 2, being that option 1 is more streamlined. I wish I would have known differently. But so one of the problems that we're getting, the LMFT evaluators are working really hard at getting through this. We're finally getting through those December applications. It's taking a little bit longer to get through those December applications because at the same time, we're not just evaluating applications and approving. We're also working with applicants in correcting deficiencies so that we can prove them to move them on. And historically, we've had a pretty big deficiency rate. For the month of December, 30% of those applications were deficient. So it kind of compounded the workload. At this point, I think we're kind of stabilized and moving forward. So that's good. Currently, we have 824 applications that we received from January. So that kind of shows you how big of an increase that was in December. For 9 months, we've only received 824 applications. So luckily, I mean, that helps us out with getting through the applications. What we have done to address this, we have, first of all, utilized staff members and moved them into this unit to actually help evaluate people that knew how to actually evaluate these applications. The other thing that compounded our backlog was we lost a couple of evaluators to promotional opportunities. They left. And so what we did, we were actually able to rehire some people back into the unit. So now we have additional staff members to be able to evaluate the applications. Our goal and what we're kind of estimating, and I hope the evaluators don't send daggers my way, but by November 1st, I am hoping that we will be close to or under our usual 60-day processing period. 60 days is a kind of a metric it's actually within our statutes also, that's kind of where we want to keep it at, 60 days or under. That's our goal. The other thing that we're doing kind of with this, because this happened, and actually this is even kind of before this, but I think it's going to help out. We've been working with the Organizational Improvement Office to actually look at the process of evaluating these applications. And we're really looking at identifying, improvements, how to really streamline the process so we're not, getting into a position like this again. Additionally, we have a plan to start cross-training more over the next year or so, so that if we have an uptick in certain applications, we're able to maneuver our staff members into those areas, kind of like, triage, and be able to keep those the processing times down. So that's the big thing with the licensing. So I hope that made sense to everyone, and we are working on it. We'll do frequent on Wednesdays we post the online, or on Facebook we post the processing time. So if you're interested, you can follow that on Wednesday mornings. That'll show you where we're at with the processing. So that is it for that. And if there are any questions on that?
I just would like to make a comment. Thank you for explaining in the details, because obviously I know this has been a #1 concern for the staff, for our board leaderships, because we have received a lot of concerns from the public. And I think this is also a great forum for the public to understand not only that we care, but also that there are systems in place that sometimes obviously make etc. choices even more difficult, because I know there were some suggestions out there say we should hire right away, but even the hiring process of any new person under California state requires months of training, disclosures, and preparation. So it's not something that can be put in place in a month or two. So even that process will push back all the system in place. So and I think I appreciate the fact that you're trying to really clarify where the hoops are. We take our responsibility, of course, but this is really the reality also of being under an emergency response, which is COVID, right? And all what has caused to our staff and the way we work together and so forth. So thank you, Steph, for that. I really appreciate that.
And really quick on that too, I know, because that is the suggestion, and we faced that. And in fact, years ago, we were in this position too, where we had a backlog. And from the outside, the solution is, well, why don't you just hire more people? Which, honestly, we're on a continually basis. We're looking at, if we do need additional resources. The issue is that it takes about 18 months to go through the process of being able to get additional positions and such. So we kind of get stuck in that. Additionally, like you were saying, this position, it's a critical step. These are like the final evaluation to move on to the clinical exam. It's very important. And it takes at least 2 months to train an individual. So it's kind of that fine balance between, taking away somebody from actually processing applications to train new individuals. It's like, how do we do this balance? So it's kind of, we're trying to do our best to kind of balance everything to make sure, first of all, that the staff is, I mean, honestly too, I have to make sure that the staff is able to keep going as fast as they can without burning themselves out, because that's another issue. So it's just a fine balance, but just once again, we do take this seriously, and I am sorry that, the backlog is there. We are doing our best though.
Thank you, Steve. I know you have more to go on this item, so I didn't want to interrupt you, and then we can go to questions and so forth, but thank you.
Christine?
Yeah, so are you taking question now, Max?
Because I know this is a very important item of this licensing report, so perhaps we can definitely elaborate more on this. And I know there are other, the COVID-19 response under this licensing report, but since we addressed this, and I know it's really important for our public, maybe we can take a pause and ask questions and see what the concerns are.
Actually, I totally understand, that I think it's, the volume, due to the fee increase, which is, it's very, telling that, the financial definitely, it's a big consideration, for a lot of the applicants. But at the same time, I was trying to, look for, the updates of the processing time, because I think, that is probably, one of the very few places, where the licensees or the applicants, examination applicants are able to really track, where are they at. And so, so maybe, you can tell a little bit more about what the licensees could do, or the registrants could do, to make sure that, they keep tab on, their, the processing time, and knowing and anticipating, how, when approximately, when their application is going to be due, like Facebook and stuff like that. Do a little advertisement, Steve.
Well, on Wednesday mornings, we post the application processing times every Wednesday morning. And so what those dates reference are the dates that we've actually received your application in the office. So so, I mean, and this is one of the things we were talking about strategic plan yesterday, is trying to come up with a better way to kind of keep applicants, aware of where their application is. So you can kind of gauge from the Wednesday postings where you might be within the application processing time. Additionally, if you log into Breeze and you create an account in Breeze, what you will see is can kind of track through there too. If once we process your application payment and the application is open, you will see the application within your Breeze front page. And it will say, I believe it, I have to get the clarification on this, but it might say pending. And once, this is kind of embarrassing, you'll know that it's been processed once the pending goes away. So this is another thing where we're trying to look at improvements to be able to say, you know, we need to make improvements on that. What we kind of recommend is that you gauge from that date. Let's say, I think we posted, I believe it was March 3rd, as the latest date that we're, I guess the latest date that we're actually evaluating. If you're within that time frame, and you don't hear from us within, let's say, a week or two, I would please reach out to us to see if something has gone on, because as you know, it's 1,100 applicants. We send out emails and sometimes additional paper copies of the approval or deficiency notices. So, you know, if you don't hear from us after that point in a week or so, please let us know, because it's most likely you've been processed. But once again, always working on improvements on that aspect too, because I do recognize, and I will own up that we do have, there's a better way to actually notify applicants of their status, and we'll see some improvements in that in the next year.
Thank you again, Steve. I don't see any other hand raised from our board member, but again, if there are any things that come to mind after the public inputs, you're more than welcome to chime in. Moderator, if we can open to the public just on this particular items, I would really appreciate that. Thank you.
We've again opened the Q&A panel. If you'd like to make a comment on this item, please click on the Q&A icon on your screen, type comment into the text field, and submit that to our panelists. Or you can locate that hand raise icon by hovering over your name and clicking on the icon that appears next to it. I'm seeing no requests. Would you like me to close the panel?
Yes, thank you.
It is closed.
Thank you so much. And okay, Steve, then at this point, I think we can proceed with item B on the licensing again, and thank you again.
Okay, we'll finish this up. And what I'm going to talk about really quick now are the waivers that are in place. This is just going to be a quick review. I would recommend, if you have more questions about the waivers, what they mean, where they're at, definitely go to our website. It's right on top there. There's a COVID response, not COVID response, but there's information on one of the bars up there that will lead you to the information, more like FAQs about these waivers. But we do have some waivers that have been extended. One of them is for taking the law and ethics exam, having to pass that to get a subsequent registration. That has been extended to October 31st. So if you expire, if your current registration expires between September 30th and October 31st, 2021, and you are applying for a subsequent registration, we can approve you for that registration without having passed the law and ethics. You will have to pass it by your next renewal, though. The other additional one, we've extended the retake timeframes. So anybody that had a examination eligibility that expired between March 31st and September 30th, 2021, would get 20 months from their original last testing date. So it extends their eligibility for another 8 months. We are at the point of where we're hoping not to extend that again. Testing sites are fully open, and there hasn't been a problem with registering as we had back in 2020. Licensing renewal requirements. So if you have a license that expires between March 31st and September 30th, 2021, you do not need to, this is for registration and or associates, You do not need to attempt to take the law and ethics course within that, a law and ethics exam within your registration. You'll be able to get renewed without having taken that. Once again, you'll have to take that before your next renewal period. And that's really, I think for the main part, that's really the waivers that are most important. So any questions on those?
Steve, just a quick question. I'm assuming obviously every time a waiver is in place, it's automatically published in our website and distributed with our newsletter and so forth, right?
Correct. Every time the waiver either, is in place, most of these are in place. I mean, they're in place, and we have information on our website about that. Detailed information. Roseanne does a great job of breaking them down into actually the FAQs there. And then every time they are updated, when BCA works towards extending them, that's Roseanne's big scramble, is to get these FAQs updated and stuff. So we should have all updated information on the website as to where these waivers are. And like, again, I would recommend questions about the waivers. Definitely our website will answer those questions for you.
And I would just add, Steve, that the waivers are also immediately posted on social media, so our Facebook and Twitter. It's announced there because I know a lot of people are anxious about their extensions, and then we also update the FAQs on the website as well.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you both. Steve, would that conclude that the license under the licensing report, the item B?
Actually, we had in the information, unfortunately, for some reason, I did not. We're going to include the enforcement report in the licensing part too. That's where we distributed the information with that. That's what we used to do.
Okay.
So yeah, I'll go through that really quick.
Sure.
I'm sorry, thank you. During the fourth quarter, the enforcement staff, we received 385 consumer complaints and 265 criminal convictions. A total of 514 cases were closed, and 15 cases were referred to the Attorney General's Office for Formal Discipline. And as of June 30th, there were 61 cases pending at the AG's office. A total of 10 accusations and 2 statement of issues were filed the last quarter, and the number of final citations for the fourth quarter was 8. There was a total of 53 final disciplinary orders, and the average number of days to complete formal discipline in the fourth quarter was 418 days, and the DCA performance measure for completing formal discipline is 540 days. So we're doing pretty good there. The average number of days a cases with the Attorney General's Office in the fourth quarter was 327 days, and the average number of days that the board investigation in the third quarter was 31 days. We're below all the performance measures, so that's good. Additionally, with the enforcement, we're beginning to do continuing education audits again. They were suspended last year. We're starting to review applicants that had renewed in January and February. I forgot to mention, well, I guess it's in the same report, but what I've included in the licensing report, this enforcement report, and also with the examination report coming up, I put in the last 3 years of data, so you can kind of see how things have been going. It was kind of a last minute. That's something I want to pursue again next year, so we can really get tabs on where we're going and where we've been. So albeit it's a little basic, it will give you an idea, and hopefully within a year's time, we can spice that up a little bit for you, make it look a little better, possibly the chart. So that is the end of the licensing enforcement report.
Thank you, Steve.
Mm-hmm.
Definitely a lot of information. I'm going to ask to see if any board member have any questions, comments, notations. Okay, then moderator, I would like to see if from the public we have any.
I'm sorry, Max. This is Diana, and I had my hand up from the last discussion, but I don't think you see it up.
No, I didn't. I'm so sorry. Diana, when that happens, feel free to jump in. There is not a problem really, but thank you for pointing that out.
Yeah, perfect. I just wanted to bring up the fact that, last month I sat in on the Counseling Regulatory Board Summit, which was, a national summit with regulatory agencies around the country. And another large state, clearly smaller than us, I was looking at the numbers, and I think they probably only have about the third of the number of licensees as we have. But they talked about having a 1 to 3 day turnaround for licensing applications, which just kind of, I guess that kind of hurt my heart. I'm like, wait, no, we're better. We should be doing this better. So I don't know if there's room for discussion or looking into what are they doing that we're not doing.
Thank you, Diana. I see Steve eager to answer. Yes.
Thanks.
Yes, no, I saw that. That was Florida. I was like floored. I was like impressed, very impressed. But yes, their volumes are incredibly different than ours. But that being said, I definitely took interest in what they were doing, and kind of when I see those things, I take those as kind of models and scene, and I do look at those. It's like, what can we do? The one thing I did get out of that, which I really appreciated they were doing, and it's something that we might venture into, is it's not necessarily about the 1 to 3 day processing, but the communication. They also have a you can ask questions online. I forget what the term is for that, but you can type in your question and it'll lead you to the answer. So that was one thing I saw. Honestly, 1 to 3 days is the goal we would like. Definitely. And that's what we are. Like I said before, we are with the Organizational Improvement Office, working with our staff. We really are looking at ways we can, get those numbers way lower. And I'm thinking in a year, we'll definitely see some changes. Sometimes I'm overly optimistic and I shouldn't put that out there, but I have hope. So we are going to be making changes, and definitely that was a really interesting, yeah. But at the same time, I think they also have board members that approve all their applications. So I don't know if you guys want to do that with 3,000 applications.
Yeah, I was about to say that. I think also it's true. And again, I appreciate Diana bringing this up because we always want to learn from other, what's happening right around the US, how we can do better. It's also true that when you're looking outside the state of California puts in place so many different steps that also are not just necessarily BBS, related in terms of it's not just a protocol that we put in place. So each state also has a different way to process license in general, and some are more complex than others, especially when you come in a big state like California. Again, I don't say that to provide any means of justification. I just say we have to be also realistic when we compare, situations of states versus other states beyond the quantity of licensing. But I know that the board approves the licensing process, which I can't even imagine the level of liabilities of doing something like that. But again, California is different in Florida when it comes to that. So it's it's interesting to look into those processes. Yeah, Steve.
The other thing I'd like to mention too, board members, please, public too. If you see something out there that you think that this looks like a good idea, this looks like something, please send it my way. Definitely. I can only look at so many states and so many processes and how they do. So it's always good. Like, please, hey, I found this interesting. Let's look at that. So I would appreciate that.
Everything but approving licenses. So at least until I'm a chair. I think I don't see, again, board members, again, Diana, thank you so much for jumping in. If any of you wants to make a comment and I don't see you because I'm also keeping open the board report to make sure I follow through the items, I might miss you. So always feel free to jump in.
Open. If you'd like to make a comment, please click on the Q&A icon on your screen, type comment into the text field, and submit that to our panelists. You may also utilize the raised hand feature. Our first comment comes from an individual identified as DD. I have sent you a request to unmute your microphone.
Possible. Are you able to hear me?
We can.
Yes.
Wonderful. Thank you again for your time. So my question is specific to Is there a process by which an individual registrant can request an extension for the LMFT exam? And I'm speaking specifically to due to COVID and the impact it's had. I know personally, I've had several family that have impeded my studying, impeded my ability even, you know, sit for the exam. And
Well, I don't know if it's me, but she's moderator. We can't hear it.
Correct. We have lost your audio.
Hello, can
we can hear you now. You seem to be cutting in and out a little bit.
So once again, my question.
All right, commenter, we've lost your audio again.
And I don't know if she can hear still, but I with that question, definitely reach out to me or my staff, and I can. I don't know the best way to do that. If I can they see the chat or?
I think I can send her a chat with your email.
Yeah, with my email, that would be appropriate, and then I can answer that question. I mean, the one thing extensions we do have because of COVID are the extensions that we have. We do have an extension in place that will basically give you 8 months worth of, basically extend your eligibility 8 months from your last exam, or 20 months from your last exam attempt. So we did recognize the issues that some faced with COVID, and we did do that. It's basically an 8-month extension. So, and just as a kind of addition to that, just a reminder that once you take the exam, and if you're unsuccessful, not that it's any better, but you will get an extra year on your eligibility. So then you have an extra year to take the exam again. But yes, reach out to me, please, if we can try to get her my email address. That'd be great.
I just sent it.
Thank you.
Thank you, Steve. Moderator, are there any other questions or comments? I don't know if we clarified this before, so forgive me, moderator, but usually we have about 2 minutes for any public comments, just to make sure.
Correct.
Yeah, thank you.
Mm-hmm. And our next comment comes from Jessica. Jessica, I've sent a request to unmute your line.
My question is, do L50s get some type of compensation for the delay on the processing of this application? The fees were double this year, and a lot of us applicants are unable to receive a significant raise at work due to the delay on licensing, such as a waiver on first renewal of licensing, perhaps?
I fully understand, you know, the concern and what you brought up, but we can't really do refunds on the monies. We once again have to. I do recognize that this could possibly, you know, the delay is delaying somebody from possibly getting licensure or taking the exam, passing the exam, and getting licensure. Unfortunately, I can't issue refunds on those.
Steve, can I add something? I think sometimes, I mean, these legit concerns, you know, people obviously struggling because of the emergency of COVID. Sometimes, you know, we know that there are legislative efforts out there to try to tap into resources to accommodate folks, which are millions of folks that have been struggling through COVID. So this is usually are more like it's a legislative efforts that will authorize agency like the BBS to say this is an amount of money they are going to use to refund people based on the what COVID has caused in relation to licensing or possible delays because of shortness of staff and things like that. So we hear you. It's not in our jurisdictions, and usually it's regulated by the state. So it's the state and the legislative efforts that make this intervention, like it's been in for a lot of COVID relief efforts, that will allow licensee like yourself to benefit from it, because we truly feel that we are part of this, and each one of us has been affected in different ways. So I think it's a very legit concern and comment, but I would suggest you to reach out to your local elected officials, because they have a lot of representations in putting agency in that position to be able to release funds or to support people that have been affected. So I hope that answer your questions, that can guide you a little bit through. So thank you.
Our next comment comes from Rebecca Gonzalez. Rebecca, I've sent a request to unmute your microphone.
Rebecca Gonzalez, National Association of Social Workers, California chapter. I just have a really quick question, which is under the enforcement provisions where you have the criminal convictions. That just means that that's the information you get from the Department of Justice, correct, on any of our licensees. And you know, based on AB 2138, you look at the ones that are, you know, more recent, within 7 years, et cetera.
Correct. That's the 265 criminal convictions. Those are, yes, the results we get from DOJ and FBI when the applicants apply. So.
Okay, thank you.
Mm-hmm.
And with that, I'm not seeing any other requests for comment. Would you like me to close the panel?
Thank you, moderator. Yes, thank you.
It is closed.
Okay, we're back to our report. Steve, would you like to move forward unless there are any other inputs from the board? But I don't see any. Yeah, okay, let's move on.
Okay, examination report. This should be quick. We gave a total of 4,980 exams that was administered in the fourth quarter. This was a 17% increase from the last quarter. There were 4 exam development workshops conducted, and that's really for the exam part. And I want to mention that OPES, the Office of Professional Examination Services, have begun the LEP occupational analysis, and that is to determine the current work environments and make sure that they have updated information about that so they can assist them in developing exams that are current and valid. Additionally, they've begun work for us on looking at the AMFTRB, the American Marital Family Therapy Regulatory Board clinical exam, and that's for use possibly for the LMFT clinical exam. So they're reviewing that, currently working with AMFTRB and collecting information, and a report is expected to the board in spring of 2022, so we can review that and see where we want to go. And lastly, they are doing OPES is doing a periodic review. It's their periodic review of the ASWB examination, clinical examination. I've included the 3-year statistics for exam review in there, and also the school reports. You can see that in there. And additionally, want to mention that board staff had been working on, this is kind of the back end office such, but been working on changes to the system that really allows us to work with candidates' eligibility and sending them over more frequently to Pearson VUE, our test vendor. What this does for the applicant or candidate is basically we can we'll get their exam information, their eligibility over there quicker so they can possibly schedule their exam quicker. And additionally, it allows us to correct any errors that may be in the eligibility. It kind of speeds up that process and makes it easier. So that's it for the examination report. Any questions?
So it looks like, Steve, that including this past year, obviously, I know this quarterly, but it looks like we're getting to the normality of the data when it comes to the report of the examinations process. Is that correct?
You mean like I know because there's the dip and
Yeah.
then it goes back up.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I think that's partially too. If I looked at the last few years too, I think it's a cyclical thing.
That was our initial concern a year and a half ago with obviously COVID, how will that affect it and so forth.
Mhm.
And so it's nice to see things coming back to whatever normal that is. So thank you again. I don't know, perhaps I know in the past we had some interesting interested party on the examination process. So perhaps we should open to the public and see if there are any comments. Moderator.
Thank you. We've again opened the Q&A panel. If you'd like to make a comment on this item, just click on that Q&A icon on your screen, type comment into the text field, and submit that to our panelists. Or you can use that hand raise feature by clicking on the hand icon that appears next to your name.
true.
This meeting is
participation of
being
organizations,
recorded.
but even having that central core. So thank you, Lisa.
Thank you, Lisa. Very true. Very true. She's doing an amazing job on Facebook, so I can see her every Friday, I believe, right? Like today.
Mhm. Yeah, actually,
Yes.
Friday, this one she's off today.
Well, we're going to miss her anyway. Okay, then I believe if there are any, I will just go and ask the public just for the sake also of procedures in terms of how we've done it so far. So moderator, if you would like to open to the public, please. Thank you.
We've again opened the Q&A panel. If you'd like to comment on this item, please click on that Q&A icon on your screen, type comment into the text field, and submit that to our panelists. Or you may raise your hand by clicking on that hand icon that appears next to your name. And seeing no requests, would you like me to close the panel?
Yes, please. Thank
It
you
is
so
closed.
much. Okay, Steve, I believe we are moving to personal reports.
One last time. Here we go. So personnel report, we had a couple hires in the last few months. I don't believe we met since then, but in May, Gina Beaver became our manager of the Discipline and Probation Unit. We're really excited about that. She's already gotten in there, done a really great job. We were able to keep one of our employees, Yi Lee, and she promoted up to discipline analyst in the Discipline and Probation Unit. So congratulations, Yi. And in enforcement also, we were able to hire some more employees, Sarita Hurt and Alexander Juarez. They're both going in the Consumer Complaint Unit. And Sarita was from the Board of Registered Nursing, and Alexander was from the Board of Optometry. We welcome them. Excitedly, we were able to get back our Ellen Viegas. She was an SSA in our cashiering unit, left, and we were able to get her back as an AGPA in our exam unit. So we're excited to have her. Additionally, we have hired, and actually he starts on Monday, Roman, and he'll be a lead cashier. He comes from the Board of Occupational Analysis. We've had some promotions. Chris Catalano, Lee Lyles, and Tony Beasley were put into staff service analyst positions in the licensing unit. Additionally, we hired Haley Sutter, and she will be also in our licensing unit, and that she comes from the Board of Pharmacy. And currently we have 7 vacancies. We currently have the AEO vacancy. That is still vacant. I'm looking to hire that. And September 21st, the applications are due for that. So we'll be reviewing those and continuing on in that recruitment. We have a vacancy in the Discipline and Probation Unit. And that's for a AGPA position, Assistant Government Program Analyst. We have a Staff Service Analyst that we have to fill in the Criminal Conviction Unit. And then we have 2 MST positions, that's Management Service Technicians, that need to be filled in the licensing unit. We're currently reviewing those positions and their duties and tasks, and we'll be submitting information to the administrative unit upstairs to pursue hiring those. And then we have 1 vacancy in the examination unit, and that's a management service tech. Additionally, like those other ones, we will be looking at the duties to see if they maybe need to be amended, and then we'll submit that for recruitment. So 7 vacancies, lots of hires, and we've got some coming in. So getting close, getting close.
That explains why you have all these, leftover money because of the vacancies. Yeah.
Yes.
And the good thing is that you have no departure. So I'm really glad about that.
Well, it kind of, and I appreciate the departments that have given up their staff for us, but we've had, you know, two of the employees. Oh, I forgot, yeah, Tony Beasley. 2 employees we were able to actually get back in a short period of time. They had left, but they came back. So I think historically, there's something that we do in our office. I'm not sure what it is, but I was the person that actually left and came back. So we always want to come back for some reason. So give me hope. So.
Dave, also, I know it's not easy. You're pretty much wearing 2 hats now. You don't have a EO assistant, which is pretty huge. I mean, if I just think about your role when Kim was here as an EO, that was incredibly important. So for you not to have someone working with you side by side, I know you have many employees supporting you, but it's definitely concerning because it's a lot of work on your shoulders. So thank you for hanging in there until things change. So we hope we can find the right person to support you too. Any other board member? Any other comments? Okay, moderator, if we can open to the public in case there are any comments, any inputs. Thank you.
Our Q&A panel is open. If you'd like to make a comment, please click on the Q&A icon on your screen, type comment into the text field, and submit that to our panelists. Or you may also utilize the hand raise feature. And seeing no requests, would you like me to close the panel?
Yes, please. Thank you.
It is closed.
And finally, Steve, our last one with strategic planning updates.
Yeah, there's really, I didn't put anything in the package because we just did our strategic planning event yesterday. We were looking over objectives. You know, honestly, for the doing it on WebEx, it's a little bit different. Brainstorming, it makes it a little bit more difficult, but I think we did some really good work. You know, we have to meet again now, so, but that's good. And I think what the plan is, and I think I expressed this before, is I really want to get a plan that the board can adopt in November, because I would like to kind of start the new year off with our strategic plan in place. So unfortunately, that does mean I think we really need to meet again. It'll be for a short period of time. We have a couple more objectives to go over, but I'd like to thank the board members for all their participation yesterday. It was good. And hopefully we can do that soon again.
Thank you, Steve. And I know that sometimes when, you know, the conversation around strategic planning are never sexy, for lack of better words. It's like, it's always a struggle, right? People always wonder what, you know, what this is even all about. But reality, even for the members of the public, by the way, when we do the strategic planning, one thing I would like to bring to the attention of the public members is that we have 4 times more of the inputs. I think there were like around 1,500 people that actually included board members and staff members and members of the public that actually responding to with their feedback of what they would like to see the BBS going towards in the next 4 or 5 years. So it's a really important process because this is the time when we address the possible disparities that our clinicians are experiencing in the process of applying for license, how we treat and consider our associates, and you know, there is so much that goes into it. It's a great opportunity to dream big and to make sure that those expectations turn into action, right, with the steps that we're taking. So it's a big effort. I know, unfortunately, the name alone, strategic planning, has never been attractive to anyone. I run a nonprofit, so I know how difficult sometimes it is to make it appealing, but it's truly the moment where we come all together to make sure that those decisions that we take every day reflect the vision of a change that the California is experiencing in relation to an incredible increasing numbers of licensees. So kudos to the staff for taking this on. There's been a lot of process gone, but at the same time, there's still a lot of time for people to share their inputs into this process. So I'm really excited actually to see what we're going to set for the next 4 or 5 years coming today. So
And can I just, I totally forgot to thank you stakeholders for appreciate that.
Yes.
Like Max said, last time we did this 4 years ago, we got 800 respondents. This year we got 1,900 respondents. So thank you very much, because that input is very useful. I believe I put everything out there, but it's definitely the comments. Really appreciate too. Thank you very much for your participation.
Very true. Very true. Thank you, Steve. Any other comments from the board? And before we move to the public inputs, feel free to jump in. Okay, I think we're good. Moderator, if you can please open to the public for comments.
This is the moderator. We've again opened the Q&A panel. If you'd like to make a comment, please click on the Q&A icon on the screen, type comment into the text field, submit that to our panelists, or you may also use the hand raise feature. And seeing none, would you like me to close the panel?
Yes, thank you, moderator. Thank you so much.
It is closed.
So, Steve, I believe that concludes your report. Unless there are any other things you would like to add?
No, I'm sure I could talk all day, but we'll let it continue on. But thank you everyone for listening. And if you have any questions, you can always reach out to me.
Well, thank you, Steve and staff, for the amazing work and making sure that things are squared. So I would like to propose a break before we go to the next reports. I think it's 10:18. What about if we reconvene at 10:30? Is that good? I don't see any complaints. We'll go. I'll see you at 10:30. Thank you.